not gonna lie, I don't know why I'm nervous, but I'm nervous about this one. I think it's because I'm doing it live on this one. I don't want any cuts. Right, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, just have not had the time to sit down for 40-50 minutes and you know, film a live grade. But I have 5 clips in front of me, and I want to get through them in the next 30 minutes. And you know, my goal is just to do it live, because to be honest, I don't want to cut anything up and edit. So yeah, I've got coffee, I've got my clips in a timeline right in front of me, and I'm thinking we just go ahead and get right into it. We are screen recording. Yes, we are. Let's get to it. Okay. So this first clip is from my boy Mike. I'll put his tag right here for you. That's his Instagram. Really talented. He's at Oregon right now, and he's filming some basketball and some football for them. Yeah, dude, this guy's wild. He's putting out some really great work. So I'm excited he sent something in for me to grade. So let's just go ahead and get going. I typically use the same node tree. But before I get into the node tree, I actually want to talk about my settings. I'm grading on a, you know, just a typical Mac desktop. It's not color corrected. So one of the things that I always make sure that I do, or I've done, and it's just now there now, is go to color management, or actually general options. Is that right? Master settings, maybe? No. Anyways, one of the things I always do, goodness gracious, of course I'm gonna cough during all this. One of the things that I make sure I always do is set my, you know, my color management up before I begin any grading. You know, because if you don't set your color management up correctly before you begin grading, you know, you could run into nightmares down the line when you finish your grade and all your clips are finalized and you realize you didn't do your color management correctly. So a lot of the times if I'm doing a documentary project, I will do Davinci YRGB color managed, because that will recognize a variety of cameras and immediately Rec 709 them in my timeline for me, which is very, very lovely. Today I'm just gonna do Davinci YRGB for my color science. That's just because I'm gonna do everything in the timeline. Timeline color space, Davinci wide gamut. There's a lot of videos out there, so I'm not gonna go too in depth about it, but that's gonna give you a larger range than a Rec 709 timeline. Like, you're not gonna clip as far, you can push your colors, you're not gonna clip as soon, you can push your colors a lot further. And then output color space, since I'm grading on a Mac desktop, Rec 709A is one of the most accurate output color spaces for me. So if I were to, you know, export this project, if I looked at it on my phone or on my TV, Rec 709A on this monitor is going to be the most accurate representation output color space, if that makes sense. So that's what I've got as my color management. Let me go ahead and break down my node tree. I use a decent amount of nodes. So I'm just going to, I'm honestly going to set this up and paste it across all of them. And this is the way I like to work. A lot of the times when, you know, you have a big project, let's say you have, you know, 400 shots, right? Like an 11-minute documentary film, right? Let's say you have 400 shots. You're gonna wanna create your node tree and then paste it across all of your images, if that makes sense. So this is, one sec, give me a second to think. Okay, so we got curves, we got HSV. Let's make that skin. Okay, we're gonna make this is gonna be our lookup table. We have glow. You know what, if we wanna do that. We have glow. We'll make this a film. We'll make this a halation. Cool. Pretty happy with that. All right. Cool. Now we're ready to begin. Let me go ahead and break this down. I'm gonna label everything so you can you don't get lost. This is going to be my exposure. This one is going to be, my goodness, what's going on, guys? Balance. This is going to be our balance. Up here, I like to do my noise reduction first, and then oftentimes when I do noise reduction, I'll have to bring in a little bit of sharpness. So that's going to be right there. Then we got exposure, balance. I'm going to go ahead and take that one off. Cool. We're going to go, this is going to be our, primaries. I'll explain why I did that in a second. This is going to be my curves. This is going to be my HSV. Also, you know what? I'll just label this sat because I use HSV as my saturation. And then I'll leave that one blank. I'm sure we'll get to it. Give me my look. This boy is going to be my lookup. Or honestly, let's label this one look. Let's label this CST. Let's label this bad boy glow. Film. Goodness, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons right now. What's going on, guys? We're back. That was pretty wild. I've lost my train of thought. Okay, this has a curves adjustment on it now. I don't know why. So we're going to head and reset node. Okay, so we're gonna name this grain. Our final one is gonna be halation. Cool beans, guys. All right, so I know this was shot on a Sony Fx6 because that's the camera that Mike owns, so I assume he's using it. So we're gonna go Sony Gamma 3, then we're gonna go down to S-Log3. Cool. All right, so this is our image once we have color space transformed, right? So, bam, bam, big difference, big difference. Also, live grades, dude, sorry if it's, I have a really hard time like grading and also like explaining what I'm doing at the same time. So if this isn't as informative and educational as you would like it to be, apologies beforehand. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna go to look. Let's go over to my LUTs. I'm gonna go down to FX6 Phantom LUTs. I love to use these. You know what? Let's take that CST off and let's go down here to Utopia. So I've disabled the CST and gone down to my Phantom LUTs, FX6 Phantom LUTs. Since I know this was shot on FX6, I feel pretty safe using my FX6 Phantom LUTs on this one, right? So that actually gets us into a much different place than a normal CST did, right? So from here, we've got options. I always like to then do my exposure. I go over here, look at scopes. Nothing too crazy there. It's a lot of green, but that's just because it's a football field. So let's go to our exposure, and I'm just gonna start playing around with it, right? I really want kind of a deep look on this, so I'm gonna make sure I have low midtones. I'm gonna really start to separate, and you can see what I've done already right here. Let's go over to balance. This is pretty blue right now. Let's warm it up a little bit. And I want to bring down my greens just because, you don't want it to be overly green. This is my balance, so I'm going to balance it a little bit. If I want to undo that later, I can. From here, I think I want to add a little bit more saturation, right? Yeah, let's add a little bit more saturation. This is my favorite way to do it, is going down here, going to color space, HSV, going to channels, channel 1, clicking that, going to channels again, clicking channel 3, and now you can see I am only affecting my saturation levels, right? So I like to first start with gamma, because that really affects our low midtones, and your gain is going to affect your higher values. So right here, I'm going to reset both. And you know, you kind of rule of thumb is you want to go too far and then dial it back, right? And just kind of like find where it looks good. I think I like it really right about there. Yep. And now I'm remembering why I had that other node. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to rename this DCTL. DCTL. And I'm going to bring all these down. You'll see why I've got that there later. Curves. Cool. Let's see what's going on with curves. I like this. Right now it's a little bit too red. You know, kind of when you start to adjusting things, you'll start to notice that things are happening to your image, and you can go back earlier in your node graph. This, I have a parallel mixer on this, and this is just kind of like where I'm going to start creating a look, right? I use this sparingly, you know, because you don't want to use your color wheels and push it too far, right? So, you know, kind of dragging my lift down, creating blues in the shadows, and then come over to my gains, go to my highlights, and creating a little separation by going, pushing a little bit of warmth in there, right? So let's see what we've done. Highlight those, Shift D. You can see we're making changes right here. It's gone a little bit too far. I'm gonna go back, bring greens out, bring some reds out of my balance, and then let's go over to glow. I like to do this pretty soon on. Go over to glow, drop that on. You know, I've talked about this a lot. This is how I like to use glow. I like to bring my shine threshold all the way up, go down to composite type, click soft light. Where are we at, soft light? Where are we at? Where? I'm missing you over and over and over again. Okay, there you are. Cool. Bam. Does a big thing, and then we're going to go down to global blend, and we're going to see exactly what we're doing, right? I think I'm going to sit it right at the halfway point. I like that, but it's crunching just a little bit too much for me. Whoops. So I'm going to go into midtones, bring that up just a hair. And every now and then, I like to Shift D just to kind of see what I've got going on, where I'm at. I'm going to go down to balance, going to bring down my greens just a little bit, down my reds, and down my greens, right? That. Bam, cool. So that's looking pretty nice. Let's scroll through just so we can see what's kind of happening here. Ooh, yep, looking good. That's a good start. You can see from here to here, we kind of have a, you know, change in exposure, right? So our crowds really dropped off. So I think I'm gonna meet it in the middle and just kind of do that, right? So lift my midtones just a little bit. I really want really strong yellows in here, so I'm gonna go to my curves. You know, I'm gonna also do this with my DCTL. You'll see in a second. But I'm going to go to hue versus sat. I'm gonna go pick that color, and I'm gonna bring that up, right? I also want to bring down these guys' jerseys because they're not interesting. They're opposition, right? We are not interested at all. That's really brought that guy up. Cool. So you can kind of see, if you really punch in what we're doing here, it's kind of, you know, maybe not dull, but I want to add a little bit more pop and a little bit more sizzle. So that's kind of what I'm doing right here. Let's go into hue versus hue. I want to separate my greens and my yellows a little bit more. So I'm going to go right here. Cool. I want bluer greens and stronger yellows. So I'm going to, or not oranger yellows, but I really want I don't want my yellows to sink into greens, if that makes sense. So you can kind of see immediately right here where I'm separating them with this node, if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys can see it on this screen, but you can see where I'm pulling them apart just a little bit. And I'm gonna finish that with my DCTL. Let's go over to effects. Let's type in DCTL. Let's go over here, and I'm gonna select Tetra and Terp HSV. This is my favorite one to work with. So green value, you can immediately see where, you know, kind of like what this is doing. I really like to use my DCTLs, especially for my values, right? So I'm gonna go over to green value. This is where it was. This is where I'm gonna bring it. Let's go to yellow sat. We're gonna punch that up just a little bit. And I kind of want to see what playing with the yellow value does, right? I kind of want to separate my greens and my yellows even more. And let's Command D to disable and then re-enable. And you can see what we're doing. None of these nodes are doing anything insane by themselves, right? But through using the whole graph, that's where we're going to start to create a big difference. Let me show you right now. Shift S, wait, not Shift S, pardon me. Shift D to look at the log versus grade, right? Shift D, love that. Big difference, right? And from here, you can go in, you can, you know, if you wanted to, you can put some film grain. My favorite way to add film grain, 35mm, 400T, increase that just a little bit, increase grain strength and grain size, you know, kind of come in here. You know, this node isn't going to be making a huge difference. Let's punch in just so we can see it. Yeah, barely, honestly, barely any difference at all. You can really tell in the highlights in his sock, if that makes sense. But this is barely adding anything. I don't want to use halation in this, you know, just because this one, honestly, we're not going for a strong film look, so I don't need any halation. And I think I'm just gonna let it sit right there. You know, that's perfectly acceptable. I'm gonna move on. One thing that I did forget to do, before I did all my grading, I forgot to copy my node tree over. What did I do? Oh, cool. Forgot to copy my node tree over, so I'm going to go ahead and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring it all the way across. Let's apply grade. And yeah, looks bad. We're going to go ahead and just reset. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. We're just going to reset everything, right? This is not, wait, no, I'm not resetting anything. You know what? I'm just going to build it again because I'm a mess right now. Cool. Let's build it again. Apologies in advance, guys. Let's go ahead and add. We're going to do this one a little bit differently. You'll see. It's going to be real fun. But then we got our HS curves, then our HSV. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Curves HSV. Let's call this our CST. Then we'll go glow. I think on this one, we are going to add some film grain and maybe some halation. And this is our, this will be our CSTL, right? So on this one, I'm going to color manage just a little bit differently. First, let me get some coffee. Also, this doesn't apply to color grading at all, but a safe rule of thumb, if you are going to have liquids on your desk, don't have them anywhere near your hard drives, right? So I kind of like keep my hard drives over here, like in a container. Also, rule of thumb, keep your hard drives in a container, right? Because if you do drop them, if you know something does spill, they're in a waterproof, soft container. Good rule of thumb to follow. I learned that lesson the hard way. So, honestly, on this one, we're just gonna do something wild. Let's go to, what's going on, guys? Let's go to, oh, we're gonna color space transform in the front, and then color space transform in the back, right? So we're going to go from, I was told this was shot on a Black Magic. That's all I was told, so I'm gonna go ahead and play around, try to find. It. Output color space. I want to get the Black Magic into my Davinci wide gamut color space. Output gamma. Davinci wide intermediate. Cool. Doesn't look color space transformed. Doesn't look rect. But that's because I'm going to take input color space, which is timeline Davinci wide gamut, and then I'm going to put the input gamma, which is Davinci intermediate, and then we're going to output color space. So remember, in the very beginning, we had our out color space set to Rec 709, and output gamma Rec 709 scene. But I'm just going to press A. Bam! Wow, hey. Wait, what did I do? I did it again, guys. This is obnoxious. I don't know what I'm pressing, to be honest, to have that happen. And it's getting on my nerves. Okay, clips. Okay, we're gonna go. What is happening? Shift S? No. Shift R? Shift. There we go. Okay, Shift F. That's what I was doing. Don't know what that even is. Okay, so you can immediately see. Wow, hey. Whoa, that looks like a completed image. And yes, that's because I Rec 709'd it by taking my color space, input color space of Black Magic Gen 4.5, Black Magic film Gen 5. I assume it's like the newest one. Oh, also, forgot to mention, this clip is from Arthur, a wonderful friend, great photographer, great videographer. Tyler and I met Arthur in Scotland, took us on a wonderful little trip, and took some of my favorite photos that have ever been taken of the two of us. So, thanks, Arthur. Appreciate it. But he's been getting into video lately, and he's creating a wonderful project. And so he sent in footage from that project just because he wanted to see it graded. So we're gonna have some fun with this. I'll put his tag right here below. Okay, cool. So this is our Rec 709. And I did it again. You know what? I can just honestly take the same grade because this is the same exact footage from the camera. So, same camera, two different shots. Let's go in exposure. I'm just gonna keep everything nice and neat for you guys. Sometimes I don't do this when I'm really rolling. I'm gonna bring these down. I like to add my DCTLs before anything. So I'm gonna press Shift S to add a new node before. So let's rename this DCTL. There's no real noise in this shot, so I don't need any kind of noise reduction. Kind of know what those are. This is going to be our curves, and this bad boy is going to be our sat. Although, you know, that's a pretty strong sat already. We may not push it any further, or we may push it further. You never really know where it's going to go until you start grading. So let's go to halation. I might want to use halation on this one. This feels kind of like we're pushing a film look. Especially, are we still rolling? Yeah, 30 minutes? 30 minutes, damn. We're going. So I'm going to try to get through these. One shot in 30 minutes, wow. So let's look at our scopes now. So if I don't know if you guys can see this, but our scopes are sitting around, our highlights are hitting 640, but most of our images sitting around here, right? Is there any way I can make this stronger? That is so... Yeah, there we go. There we go. So, yeah, our highlights are right in this area, and then, but most of our images sitting right here. So, I want to bring our highlights down, because I kind of want to do like this really cool crushed look. So I'm actually going to take us over to curves. I'm going to jump around just a little bit, and I want to show you like a really fun technique that I like to use when I'm creating crushed highlights, which is typically a film quality, right? Often you're not going to get super peaked highlights on film. So we're gonna do a really fun thing, right? I'm just gonna go over here, create a little bit of contrast. So you can see I'm gonna disable and enable. Like I said, this is not doing too much. You can really see it in my highlights, what's happening. I'll pull this even further. Yep. So that's not crazy, right? Overall, this image is, if you look at your scopes again, very red, very green. And I kind of want to dial this back. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go to our offset. Offset is generally how I balance everything. And we're going to begin to balance this image, right? So I'm gonna play around until I find something I love. Right there. Let's bump this a little bit, because while we were playing around, we brought the image down just a little bit, right? Let's bring a little bit of blues out. Bring that up just a little bit. Huge difference, right? So just from one node, we've made a huge difference. Balance, enable, disable, enable. Let's bring a little bit of the greens back in right here. You can really see it on his skin tones, right? And in the shadows. Shadows were, before they were washed red, everything is washed red. We've balanced it just a little bit, and now we begin to play, okay? So I'm gonna go over to gain. I'm gonna kind of create the same thing. Gonna go over to lift, bring a little bit of blues into my shadow. We may not even, yeah, barely any difference. Honestly, almost unnoticeable. But this is where we're gonna begin to really push and separate our highlights and our shadows. You're gonna see it. This is, yep. Now you can start to see it, right? Yep. There you're starting to see it. So I'm feeling these are like super strong fall colors, right? So I want to push the color just a little bit. So I'm going to do, once again, I'm going to create this HSV effect. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to push a little bit of color right there. Whoops. Now I kind of want to do, on this one, I kind of want to do something pretty wild. So let's do it. So I'm gonna create a new corrector. I'm gonna break this chain right here, go from the parallel mixer to the curves. But I'm gonna create a layer mixer. Command L, layer mixer. I'm gonna go down here, composite. What is it? Luminosity. Go into my bottom node. We're gonna go into channels. We're gonna click monochrome. Yes, there it is. Cool. So this is something that I learned for color density before I even learned that I could use a DCTL. So all I've done is Command L, create a layer mixer, not a parallel mixer, a layer mixer. And then I've changed my composite mode to luminosity, and I've gone to my bottom layer mixer, and I've gone to, instead of being on primary wheels, I've gone to my RGB mixer, clicked on monochrome, and here I just want to show you real quick kind of like what's happening. You can create some drastically different looks by playing with each of these channels, right? And these are giving you denser reds or denser greens, and it's kind of affecting your other channels as you're doing it. One of the ways that I like to use this is to really create focus on my subject. So let me reset this. I really want to bring my focus in on him. We haven't even used any windows yet, but I'm gonna start to do that by playing with blue, green, and let's see what we've done. You can see the effect right there. We've brought down our green values and our blue values, and we're getting a stronger focus right here on him. So let's bring those down even more. Let's bring those down even more. I'm gonna go back to my exposure, go to primaries, bring my highlights down. You can see we're making a big difference, right? That has washed my oranges just a little bit. I'm gonna go over to DCTL. I'm gonna put DCTL right here, and let's click on Tetra Interpretive. I'm going to go to Red Sat, bring that just up just a little bit, bring my values down, Sat, bring that up just a little bit, and right here I'm just kind of trying to find it and find the balance, and you can see where we're at. So cool. We've created Shift D, created a pretty strong look. I'm gonna add some power windows, right? So I'm just Option S, new window, Option PP. We've created some power windows for ourselves, right? This is starting to get a little messy. Sometimes I like to clean it up, right? Say right too much. Sorry, guys. Cool. So I'm really gonna bring the focus in right here on our talent. I always like to soften this up quite a lot because I don't want anyone really seeing that I've been in here. So I don't want them to see my power windows. I don't want them noticing that I've done anything. So from here, I'm going to bring down the highlights just a little bit on my sky. So this is a tool I love to use. I love using this one, right? It gives us this fun thing right here. So I'm just gonna bring down highlights just a little bit. Let's increase that just a little bit more. And on my windows, I like to play around, you know? So we're gonna Option O, create a outside window, which if I just kind of go above and beyond right here, you can see Option O takes this selection and inverts it. So cool. So that is inverted of the other one. Cool. So now I'm gonna go with the curves. This curves right here. Where are my curves? Where are my bad boys? Cool, right here. Looking a little bit crunchy on the bottom end. So I'm gonna bring it up just a little bit, bring my highlights down just a little bit more. And this is where we really start to dial in on what we're creating. I'm gonna add, have I not added glow yet? Oh my goodness, Selene. So we're gonna go to glow, shine threshold all the way up. Once again, we're gonna go down to soft light. Woo, strong effect. We don't want it to be that strong. So let's kind of go to global blend, bring that down. I'm gonna go over to exposure. I also typically use this as my contrast wheel as well. So we're making some really big changes. Let's check out glow. Just gives us a little bit more focus on our highlights and midtones. Let's go to film. Let's finish this bad boy up by adding some grain. Go to my favorite 35mm 400T, increase the opacity, increase grain size, grain strength. Let's see what we're doing right there. Yep, you can see the texture on his skin. You can see the texture all around. This is definitely one where I want a strong grain. I might even increase grain strength just a little bit. Another thing to note is when you need to think about how you're going to be using this. Is this going to go on YouTube where it's going to get compressed? Is it going to go on Instagram where it's going to get compressed? If it is going to be compressed by by these socials, something really important to know is that your grain is also going to get compressed, right? So if you want it to show up, sometimes you have to add a little bit more and increase the size just a little bit, just so it shows up. Yep, so I think I'm gonna sit right there. You can see the texture, it's adding. Let's go to halation. Let's add a little bit, you know, make it really, really start to get dialed. Let's back up just a little bit. I'm not seeing a strong effect. I'm increasing my gamma just so I can start to dial in my threshold. So we're really our effect here. And like I said, I don't like doing crazy halation. I don't do crazy grain. You want it to be subtle. You want it to look like it's out of cam. So this is how I'm doing it. I think this is where I'm gonna set this image. I'm very happy with that. Thank you for sending this in, Artur. Let's go to the next one, Artur. Okay, so right here, I'm not gonna label these. I'm just gonna kind of explain. Actually, JK, I'm gonna label these because I don't want anyone to get lost. So, sat, you know, I don't want myself to get lost either. Curves. We are gonna need some noise reduction on this one. Just a little bit. If I really punch in, you can see there's a little bit of grain, or not grain on his skin. There's there's a little bit of grain or noise in the image. That's too punched in. Sorry, I'm just being ridiculous here. DCTL, exposure. Whoopsie. Exposure. Come on. What's going on? Exposure, balance. So, you know, this is our image, right? A lot of our work on this image is going to be done in balance again. That's probably going to be where you see the biggest image or biggest difference. Let's go to glow. Blah, 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 glow. Let's just add that preliminarily. Glow. Let's go down to soft light. This is something I typically do at the beginning just because it does affect your image quite a bit. I'll add film and halation later. Okay, so let's go to exposure. I really kind of want to bring down my window highlights, so I'm going to do that. What's going on, guys? Shift D. What am I? What's going on? Okay, there we go. Shift D. So, yeah, I'm going to bring down my window highlights by just bringing down the levels a little bit and kind of playing around with my gamma, which is my mid-tones, which is going to be a lot of the stuff in the room, and then my gain, which are my highlights. And so let's Command D, see what we've done, and we've immediately saved the highlights just a little bit right there. Another thing that you can do to further the effect is, once again, we're going to go to curves right here. Edible splines are clicked, so we're going to bring this down, bring this just back up just a little bit, and right there. Cool. So, you know, especially if this is going to be a film project, something that I like to do is generally keep my image pretty low. If you look at a lot of films, they're fairly low. Cool. We're good. 47. I'm fine. So once again, we're going to balance this out. My assumption is he had his white balance set pretty high, or, you know, just set to the same thing all day, so that's why we see a lot of reds and everything. So I'm going to kind of balance this out, really dial it in, bring a little less greens. Big difference immediately. Big difference. Our blacks are clean. That's something that I really like, is clean blacks. So that's kind of like the thing that I'm looking for right here, is I'm looking at my shadows. Are they red or are they black? Like clean blacks. Let's go ahead and do our noise reduction right off the bat. I like to go over to motion effects, frames. Let's go to always click better. We're gonna bring our Luma up. We're gonna go over here, unclick spatial threshold. So unclick this guy right here and bring our chroma up as well. I kind of want to show you why I do that. This isn't honestly the best example. Yeah, this is not the best example. Oh, whoops! I did this on the wrong node. Did not realize I already had. This was my color space transform. Whoopsie. So we're gonna go over here. Let's see. This is why you should label things, because you're gonna start to make some ridiculous mistakes. Gosh. Cool. Let's go over here. We're gonna do the same thing. So let's go to Luma, Chroma, bring that up, and let me show you kind of what I'm talking about. So like, you can immediately see the difference in his skin tones right here, right? Especially on the darker parts of the image. So we're just cleaning it up a little bit. Even in scopes, you can see it. If you kind of see all this stuff right down here, you'll start to see it thin out, and that's just because it's a cleaner image. It looks better. You know what? If this was any other project, maybe I'd sharpen it. But to be honest, we're really leaning into a look that I don't think needs to be sharpened. So now let's go over here. We're going to create our look. So I'm going to bring my gain up. And I kind of want a fun little yellow coming through the windows, but I want the interior to be nice and cool, right? So let's bring down our reds even more. And let's increase that light coming through the window. I want it to look like nice golden morning light. Wait, here, one sec. Reset that. I want it to look like nice morning golden light that's coming through. And then I want a cool interior, if that makes sense. So I'm just trying to find that perfect spot right there. I'm pretty happy with that. And if we look at this, you're gonna see the difference. Strong difference in this. Bam to bam, right? And honestly, on this one, I think I'm gonna change this up just a little bit. Like, seeing what you've changed is a really, really good way to you know, kind of figure out where you want to go, right? So I kind of want to clean up this interior just a little bit. I don't want such strong greens going on in here, so I'm gonna go here, go to sat. You can kind of see where that yellow is affecting, so I'm gonna bring that down just a little bit. Go over to hues. And really dial it in, right? So on curves, we've made a big difference. Made a big difference. And I don't like how purple these highlights are, so I think I'm gonna set my sun tones right about there. I'm gonna go over to balance. There's too much green in the image. Bring that green down. Go over here. Play with our lift. Bring that down just a little bit. And we're really just starting to dial this in. I want a little bit more green in my highlights, so I'm gonna go over to balance. Brah. Cool. Brah. Cool. Okay, so you know, a lot of the work that I do when I'm grading is really just dialing it in, right? Just trying to create a solid look. So let's go over to film grain. Let's add this now. Film grain. 35. 400T, grain size, increase, grain strength, increase. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Let's dial it back. We can start with the opacity. Cool. Play. It's gonna be laggy because I put noise reduction on there, and noise reduction is really gonna slow your computer down. Cool, I like it. One thing that I wanna do is I really wanna punch reds and yellows. I really want strong reds and yellows because I really want them to stand out. So let's go over to DCTL. Bam, load, load. Let's go over to red value, bring it down, but I'm gonna increase that sat. Ooh, ooh. Now I'm starting to mess with, I didn't realize, I'm starting to mess with my walls, which I actually don't want that. So I may not increase my reds too much. But I may play with the hue. I do want to lean green in this. If I had a rule of thumb, I'd rather lean green than lean magenta. So I am gonna do that. Yellow sat. This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Strong yellow saturation. Now we can begin to play with those yellow hues. Want a really strong golden, morning light. And then let's play with our yellow values. Wow. Wow. This is where we're creating a big difference in our image. I want to separate my reds and my yellows just a little bit. So I'm going to continue to separate them. I really like where those reds are. And then I really like that warm golden light. So let's see what we've done with, wow, just one node. We've really kind of dialed it in. You can see where we're affecting his skin. You can see where these flowers are getting affected, and our curtains have a lot more saturation in them. Let's do one more thing. I actually kind of really want to lean into this saturation because I think it's bringing this image alive. Let's just go too far so we can kind of see what it looks like, reset, and then just dial it back in. Okay? You can kind of see what we're doing here. And then my greens came a little bit too strong into the image. So I'm gonna go over to sat. I'm gonna increase this just so we're making a wider selection. I want that wall to be a little bit more muted. Wow. I'm happy with that. Moving on. So this is our last one. Reset this bad boy. Reset all grades and nodes. And I am going to try to recreate the dune look on this, right? Bop, bop, bop. No noise reduction needed, so we're just going to DCTL, DC, exposure, balance. This is where, if anything, we'll have a little bit of look adjustment, curves, sat. I honestly don't think I'm going to use sat on this, but we will have it just in case. Film grain, glow, going to be very, very necessary. If you look at this image, our highlights are not very strong. So we're just going to go over here. I'm going to go to neutral. Going to bring this down. Let's reference our scopes just so you can kind of see where everything's sitting. 640. So our highlights are at 640. Where's our reds? Our reds, which are our skin tones, are going to be around 500. And our greens are around 640 as well. So let's look at this. Greens. This is actually, I mean, this is scopes are pretty close. I'm just gonna dial just a little bit. So from here, I'm gonna start to dial our sat. Honestly, just need to bring sat down. Because when you side by side them, especially, I think something that I really need to do is bring my curves or my blues down. So let's grab sat, let's grab our color picker. Where are we at? Where's my color picker? Right here. Because those blues are not saturated at all. And they're not leaning towards cyan, they're leaning a little bit more towards magenta, if you ask me. Oh, need to create a thing here. So that's cyan. That's leaning towards magenta. We're gonna start to kind of dial our blues in. The blues are almost still too strong. Like, the blues in this image are really, really low. And honestly, pretty much everything is really, really low in this. So skin tones are down. I'm gonna bring my exposure even further down. And I'm gonna create, you know what, I'm not even gonna do any sat, because this image that we're trying to create has so low saturation that we honestly don't need anything. I really want my focus to be on the center of this image here. So I'm gonna create a nice blend. I'm gonna add softness. I'm gonna go Command O. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. I'm gonna add detail right here, but in Command O, which is my command outside. This is on my outside node. I'm gonna start to create my vignette. Now I'm gonna go back up here to exposure. I'm gonna bring my midtones up, my highlights down, midtones up, and I'm really just trying to dial in, right? Different times a day and also different lighting, so you're not gonna get perfect. This is not overcast. This was actually a sunny day, so we're not gonna be able to exactly create the same look, but we're gonna get pretty darn close, right? So I'm gonna use one more node. I'm gonna come down here. Yeah, I really want to kind of just like honestly lose the bottom here. I want to lose the bottom, so I'm gonna bring my midtones down. I think I'm gonna bring it in from this direction, and then I'm gonna go back up here, separate just a little bit. My wife is home. So, fun fact, it's actually been several months. Since I first started recording this video. Life got in the way. You know, Tyler got home while I was recording, so I decided to stop, and then life got in the way, and I just never got back to recording this video. So, I finally have a moment. Work is all turned in. Everything is turned in. We are going to finish this live grade. And so this is turned from a sort of live grade video into a not so live grade video, because this is months later. But anyways, let's just jump back into it. I don't remember where we had left off. I know we were grading this clip here from my good bud Greg, and yeah, don't know exactly where we left off, but we're gonna go ahead and jump right back into it. I definitely know I was going for more of a Dune look, more something like when Paul was on Kaladin, and it was very toned down. You know, I got back into it and decided I didn't like it. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're just gonna turn it into something a little bit more like this. You know, I'm feeling very vibrant. I'm in a vibrant mood, right? So let's just go ahead, go right here. I'm gonna make this an HSV node, just because I really love the way, and I'm sure I've already said it on this video, but I can't recall. I love the way that HSV pumps color back into the image, right? It kind of like, it adds richness. It, you know, it deepens the colors. It's just wonderful. gonna go ahead and adjust this DCTL, make it more cyan, bring down blue sat just so it's a little bit more cyan. And then I think I'm just gonna pump back in some reds right into here. Pump back in some greens, green sats all the way up. Let's see what happens when we play with red value, right? Really bring that down. I think I want to keep the red value low. You know, just and potentially bring the green value up so the green punches. So I'm going to go over to curves. I'm going to try and select my greens. That's good. Luma gain. Let's see what happens. It's not too much. It's not too noticeable. But you know what? Just to make it a little bit more noticeable, I'm going to bring down my reds a little further. And then let's just honestly bump our exposure. I'm feeling happy today. You know, let's get crazy with it, right? Just to bring our sky level a little bit down. Let's honestly select for the sky. So I'm going to go Option S. I'm going to go down to my qualifier, go over to this little nifty luminance qualifier, Shift S so we can see exactly, or Shift H so we can see exactly what we're qualifying. And I just want to get that sky. So let's soften that selection up a bit. Looking good. Shift H again. Bring down that sky. Now let's play with our curves. Come over here, go to my actual curves, editable splines. Bam. Now this is in the same look. I'm gonna deepen my shadows. I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna adjust the reds down just a little bit. Maybe play with the hue. Yep. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and accept this as a final look. Maybe let's bring the sky value down just a little bit. Kill magenta because I see magenta showing up just a little bit in the horizon. And I honestly think I'm happy with that. That's where I'm gonna let it sit. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I think I'm done with each of these clips. And it took me long enough, took months to do this, but I am really happy to do a live grade. It's fun just to honestly make something where I don't really have to cut up too much. It's less work, and you know what? I really enjoy just talking through these videos. That's like one of the reasons that I love YouTube, is just because I like to hear myself talk. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found some value in this video. You know, I've been really enjoying color grading and sharing what I've learned and still learning, because I'm nowhere near where I want to get. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you found something of use, and I'll see you in the next one. Cool.